Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. Today I want to follow up in the video I did on the FTC click to cancel rule. I'm going to talk about that VPN Secure lifetime access thing, and I want to talk about the way that these conversations we have degrade and how this keeps us from actually getting what we should have. Basic rights as consumers and basic rights to be able to use what it is we bought and paid for. There's this problem of trying to solve the wrong problem. It's a serious one, and I want to bring up some examples of this and how these conversations start from let's get the bad guy to maybe instead of getting the bad guy, you can do this, to maybe instead of you can do this, you should do this, you're an idiot, and how that just degrades into us all arguing while somebody robs us blind. In the video on the FTC click to cancel, I saw people trying to solve the wrong problem. When you have a gym that says that you could sign up, you could give them your credit card with a click of a button, but if you want to cancel, there's no cancel button there. You can't call them to cancel. You can't mail them to cancel. You have to go to the post office to send them certified mail to cancel. They're doing that for a very obvious reason. They're doing that to make it as difficult as possible for you to cancel, so you put it off so that you keep getting charged every month for something that you're not using. If you are to go to any sort of business conference on franchises, you will see people who run gyms brag that they have one of the highest rates of people who sign up for the service and don't actually fucking use it. There is a large incentive structure in place to make it difficult to cancel so that it's not, listen, we would allow you to cancel. You just didn't follow our instructions. That's a bad thing to do. And I think we can all agree that it takes some level of shittiness and evil to say, next to the subscribe button, we are not going to have a cancel. That's bad. I think most of us can come together and say that's fucked up, right? So you'll see somebody start the conversation like this. They'll say, well, Louis, you could just call your bank and file a chargeback, right? Or, Louis, this bank will allow you to stop the payments on it. Maybe you could use them. It starts as help. Or somebody will say something like, well, Louis, I'm going to make a website. I'm not kidding. Like, God bless this dude's heart. I'm not saying he's a bad person, but this guy actually went through the trouble of setting up a site that makes it easy for normal people to send certified mail without signing up for Indicia. Good effort. God bless. But bruh, wrong fucking problem. I'm not saying this to punch down. I don't want to read a bunch of comments on how he's ableist or any of this other bullshit, but I'm saying this from a place of love. I'm saying this from a place of, let's just say I've experienced this problem in my life many, many times. People like us, we solve the wrong problem. We like solving problems so much. We like going down rabbit holes so much. Sometimes that means I don't like being spied on. So let me write a 1,100-page guide on how to replace everything in my life with something. This is not necessarily a bad thing. It's why I stayed up until 4 a.m. for years of my life trying to figure out how to fix a lot of different problems in Apple motherboards that weren't being talked about elsewhere. It's why people write crazy code that does amazing things. The world runs because of people that hyperfocus. But we need to hyperfocus on the actual problem. Imagine I have a 4-year-old son, and it's the middle of summer. He runs up to me, and he shoots me in the arm with his water gun. And as he's shooting me with his water pistol, I notice that my skin starts to burn off of my arm as I'm screaming in pain as it's going right through the bone. Would you come up to me and say, Louis, oh, you should wear this sweater. This thing actually, it's really good. It gives you great resistance against skin-burning acid, so that doesn't happen to you. No. How the fuck did my 4-year-old son get access to skin and bone-burning acid? We need to focus on the right problem to solve. And in this case, it's the person that told the web developer, you're not allowed to put a cancel button on this website. We're not doing that. The person who made a conscious decision to create that business model, rather than, let's talk about how to solve the problem and get around it. No, let's talk about the person that created the fucking problem to begin with. Because you'll see people talk about how they want to solve this. This will degrade into something like, well, I use a credit union. I don't have that problem because they have an easy click to cancel thing where I can just turn off the payment. And then it'll turn into, you're an idiot. Oh my God, what kind of moron uses a regular bank in 2025 instead of a credit union? Wow, you're dumb. And the problem with this is that while everybody is arguing amongst themselves about this particular issue, the person who actually runs that gym, the person who chose, when the web developer said, where do you want me to put the cancel button, who said, don't make one. That person is watching and laughing because you're getting more angry at each other than you should be at him for causing the actual original problem. And then once you do that, you don't organize. You don't work together. I didn't understand the meaning of the word organizer, or what is a community organizer, or what is an activist organizer in my 20s and even my early 30s. But I'm starting to understand it, not through actually performing some sort of crazy activism, not through going to a class on it, or hanging out with people, or reading Rules for Radicals by Saul Alinsky or some shit. I'm learning it by simply reading my comments, meeting people in person, and seeing how you all talk to each other. Take VPN Secure. This is the company that revoked lifetime access to the VPN. So instead of getting aggravated at the company that made a conscious decision to have ChatGPT write a South Park BP oil company CEO, sorry, email, fucking everybody out of what they paid for, you're an idiot. I mean, what kind of person doesn't realize that you can't pay a finite amount for unlimited bandwidth over life, you moron? When it comes to VPN sponsorships, what I notice is that they're targeting people that don't know any better. This is my opinion of the matter. You tell me what you think. I'll see a VPN ad and it'll say, like, I'll see this on like Ben Shapiro or some shit. It'll talk about ExpressVPN. You know, all these companies take your personal data, and these are companies that don't like conservatives very much. Take your data back. You get back at them by using ExpressVPN so they have less of your personal data. Okay, asshole. So when I log into Facebook.com with my real name and all my friends attached that I've decided to talk to, and you can see what I say, see who I vote for, see what I look like, see where I live, and through the third-party cookies that I'm going to have in my browser, because Ben Shapiro didn't tell me to install LibreWolf or Brave browser with shields on, or install a canvas blocker, and he sure as fuck hasn't told me to install uBlock Origin. I'll you guess why. You can see exactly what I'm doing across all the websites that I go to, but that's okay. They don't have my personal data because they don't know my IP address. I fucking hate YouTube-sponsored ads, man. I hate them. Trust me, they have all the data on you they need without having your fucking IP address. When you see the way that these VPNs are advertised as something, it's going to create an encrypted tunnel to make everything more secure. Yes, it does. A VPN does create an encrypted tunnel. It does. Is that making your life more secure as the average user? Not really. There are genuine uses for a VPN. I want to sail the high seas with Mulvad? Absolutely. Great use for a VPN. I want to get around the geolock so that I can view content that I would otherwise not be able to view in my particular country? Great use for a VPN. I don't want you to know my IP address. Great use for a VPN. I explicitly have more trust for the VPN provider having access to the connections I'm making than I do my ISP. That's a use for a VPN. But there are lots of people that do this shit where they say something that is technically true, but they understand that that technically true thing is going to be misinterpreted as meaning something else by the actual audience. And they will use that to benefit from people that really don't even fucking understand how a VPN works, paying for it. That's a lot of the industry. I truly believe that. When I listen to people describe why you should get a VPN, for every one honest ad I hear 10 or 20 that I know if I were to show this to like my cousin, my uncle, my grandma, would come away from that thinking that this is just a magic thing where I just like click it. It's like an antivirus or some shit. I click it and I have protection. Point here, not a lot of people understand the economics of it and why that doesn't make sense. The way somebody who is autistic enough to write 900 pages on how to avoid using Google, Apple, Microsoft, and Facebook may understand. Most of you understand the concept of bandwidth and networking and how a VPN is a service that requires constant upkeep and maintenance, and that is not going to work at a fixed cost. I get it. You understand everything. You're an expert in digital licensing. You're an expert in streaming services, automotive repair, the financial industry, web hosting. You can read the 50-page end-user license agreement in less than a minute because you're so smart. Do you really want to live in a world where you have to look over your shoulder, not once, not twice, but 3 times before every fucking transaction you make? Every step you take, there's somebody waiting behind this couch to jump over it and screw you over. Because even if you are that good and that smart, at some point, you're going to fuck up. You guys love hearing me shit on New York, don't you? I got a story for you. My old store manager, Steve, great guy, very street smart, grew up in the Bronx, really understands what's going on around him, has got great situational awareness, very intelligent, understands how to get out of shit, understands how to see when it's about to happen before it happens, and he's helped me get out of shit in the past as well. He was playing, I think was playing a game of soccer or something. He was playing some sports. He smells a little bit funky. You know, Steve smells a little funky from time to time. He plays a good game of soccer. He goes back to the store to get changed. He goes to his car. He gets in his car and he realizes, oh, this doesn't smell like the usual Steve funkiness. What is that? He turns around. There's a guy sleeping in the fucking backseat of his car with some of his belongings in his jacket. Steve immediately gets out, gets, get the fuck out of my car, drags the guy out of the car. You know why this happened? Every single day when he gets into his car, when he gets out of his car, what's the first thing you do? He double checks and triple checks to see who is around his car. Who the fuck is watching me park my damn near mint condition Mercedes E350 with cool modifications that somehow he fucking bought for less than $30,000. World's best negotiator right there. The one time he fucks up, somebody sleeps in the back seat of his car and starts stealing all his shit. One of the most street smart people I know. It's bound to happen to you at some point in your life, even if you're smart and you look over your shoulder and you know what's going on. When we see there's a bunch of obstacles in place, it's like we turn life into a fucking video game. There's a bunch of piranhas in between me and where I gotta go, and instead of going, why the fuck are there all these piranhas here? I don't want to get bit. We wind up going, I bet I can get past all the piranhas faster than you. Oh, look, I beat you to it. See, I'm better. If you're bored and you want your life to be a video game, go play a fucking video game. Go play Crash Team Racing. Go play Gran Turismo 2. Go play Street Fighter Alpha 3, but don't get a Mad Catz controller, click the auto button, and then spam punches Eman Handler, because that shit pisses me off. Go play a fucking video game if you want your life to have a little excitement to it. Don't let the world turn into a dystopia around you so that you have an excuse to feel like you're better than the person next to you. Ask yourself, why the fuck am I surrounded by piranhas, instead of saying, if only you were smart as me, you'd be able to get around them. Because someday one of those things is going to bite you. I'm not an incapable person. I understand how to get things done. I've had many businesses and nonprofits over the years. I'm almost 37 years old. Look like I'm 87 years old from stress of dealing with New York City and New York State government. When I've dealt with New York City and New York State government, I've come out completely unscathed. They want almost $1.2 million. They go out selling something like $500. They refer me elsewhere because they're pissed I only owe like $500. I come out of that owing $0. I've dealt with getting laws passed against Apple, John Deere, wheelchair companies in several different states. I've raised money on this. If I have an issue, any sort of legal issue, there's many people I can contact, and I've got street smarts from having to deal with all these issues over the years. I've understood how to look over my shoulder so that I don't get screwed at every which instance. But that doesn't mean I'm going to punch down on you and say, you should have been as smart as me and understood how to not get screwed. If only you had this knowledge. What are you, a moron? If I've had an experience in my life where I had to do this all the time, I'm not going to normalize that and then use it as a means to pump up my ego by saying, look at how smart I am because I know how to do this better than you. Rather, I'd want to try and advocate and create a world where nobody has to do this all the time in order to not get screwed. Because at some point, it's gonna happen to you. You ain't an expert in everything, and even if you are, you're gonna have a bad day sometime. Next thing we have to bring up is the cult of personality, because if the world is gonna change for the better, we have to get out of the habit of making excuses for people simply because we agree with them on one or two or three issues. We chose to buy a product from them. We chose to subscribe to their podcast. We chose to vote for them. That is not an acceptable reason to give people an out when they do stupid shit that hurts us. You're allowed to vote for somebody, listen to them, buy their products, and simultaneously be able to point out, here's where you screwed me. I think people don't do that nowadays because they associate their identity with the person they look up to, vote for, or buy a product from. So this is something I noticed really on the early days. One of the biggest mistakes I made in my advocacy for right to repair stuff is when I would talk about what Apple did. I did not like the way Apple treated the customer. I didn't like that there was a design defect in a product and that they would not cover that. They would charge the customer $600 for something that should have been free to replace because it was an Apple design defect. And I would talk about this. I'd go to Mac Rumors and r/Apple and these forums, and all these people that owned the products that I were discussing would talk about what a fucking idiot and a loser and a grifter and a bastard I was. You read these forums, I'm like, yeah, I'm just a piece of shit incarnate. And it was really confusing to me because you own the product that has a design defect. What am I advocating for? Apple to create an extended warranty repair program so that when an issue happens, instead of you having to pay Apple $1,000, instead of having to pay me $300 to fix it, you can get it fixed by Apple for free. That's my point. If I got what I wanted as a result of demonstrating objective evidence of this product being faulty, you would be protected by a warranty instead of having to pay out of pocket for a repair that was not your fault. And people were pissed off at me for this. And I didn't understand it until I was in my mid to late 30s why this was going on. That person chose to buy Apple. Check. They made this conscious decision based on their research and personality type. Check. They bought from Apple because they accepted the brands, the culture, everything that goes into it. Check. I was shitting on something Apple did. Check. Therefore, they didn't see me shitting on Apple. They saw me shitting on their choices. They saw me shitting on their decisions and their identity as a human. I wasn't aggravated at Apple because they screwed over that user. The way that user interpreted it, I don't like you. I didn't understand this. The idea of making sure people always feel like they are in on the joke rather than be in the joke. I didn't get that until I was older. And if I understood it, there would not be thousands of people on these forums running around talking about, like, making shit up about my business and talking about what a piece of garbage grifter asshole that I am that's like over these issues, when the thing I was advocating for the entire time is that you have the ability to get a free fucking repair when they screw you over. And I see this happen on a regular basis. Charlie at the Penguin Zero channel talked about this quite a bit. He was talking about this in the Elon Musk video he did, where he was lying about his status in a video game. Forget about whether you want an ICE car or an electric car. Forget about what you think of, you like his right-wingness and the way that he gives his heart to people in a way that I've just never done that on this channel when I talk about giving my heart to all of you. He does, forget about any of the stuff that he says on Twitter, his politics. He's worth $200 to $400 billion. He gets on the internet and he's pretending that he knows how to play a video game and that he got to the specific level that he didn't get to. He's saying things that people who've played the game for 15 minutes can tell are complete bullshit. And it's one of these things where, man, you got $200 to $400 billion. You could buy a yacht, you could buy a country, you could be banging models half your age from now until the end of time. Why are you spending your time on the internet lying about your status in a video game? And then people are going out of their way to defend him. And Charlie's point was a good one. You can like somebody, you can agree with what they say, you can vibe with their worldview and say, this thing they did here is pretty fucking stupid. You don't have to go all in on everything. So an example of this here, in a few of the videos that I did, I talked about Trump's appointees. The same way I talked about people in the Biden administration when they did something stupid. And my titles don't mince words. This was the FCC chair that was appointed. The FCC chair, Brandon Carr, he undid a Biden-era regulation, and that regulation was that an internet service provider like Spectrum or AT&T can't bribe the landlord of an apartment complex to force tenants to pay for their internet. Let's say I'm Comcast, and I know that my internet is shit. I know that I'm giving 10 megabit per second up for the same price that Verizon Fios is giving gigabit symmetrical right across the street. I can't compete with Verizon Fios. My service goes down more often than Paris Hilton and Scott Storch before he ran out of his cocaine money in the mid-2000s. I'm not able to compete on the merits. So what I have to do is I'm going to go to the landlord and say, if you force all of your tenants to pay for Comcast internet, I'll give you 40% of the profits. Can you do that for me? What do you think is going to happen? Verizon is not going to be willing to wire that building anymore because Verizon realizes that most people live paycheck to paycheck and they're not going to be able to afford to pay for 2 internet connections, which means that even though Verizon is technically capable of wiring the building, you've completely removed the economic incentive to do so because the chance of them recouping that investment is very low. So you start to create a monopoly by using this bribery bullshit. That rule went away. Brendan Carr just erased it like that. How does it benefit you that a crappy internet service provider is able to bribe your landlord into forcing you to pay for internet that you don't want from a shitty company? And Andrew Ferguson at the FTC, he is walking in lockstep with the people that are claiming that it is too much of a burden on business to put a cancel button on their website. He is on the same side as people saying that people will die if they put a cancel button on their website. That's not in your best interest. And when I bring this up, there was a comment on my YouTube channel that got deleted because YouTube is one of the shittiest social platforms on the planet. They delete shit all the time. They keep up all the fucking crypto scammer comments. They keep up all the sex bot comments. But God forbid I'm having a polite conversation with someone I disagree with. That goes away real fast. And it's not me doing it. This is one comment that said, if he knew that this was going on, that Trump had appointed somebody that was making it harder to cancel gym memberships, or appointed somebody that was allowing internet service providers to bribe landlords, if he knew how this was hurting the American people, that he would do something. I know he would listen to us. No, he wouldn't. No. I miss the bipartisanship among Americans back in the day. When I vote for somebody, they do something stupid. Instead of identifying with that person and then immediately trying to run to defense for them all the time, because running defense for the person you voted for means I'm playing defense for myself and my choices, they just said, oh yeah, I voted for that person, but fuck what you did over here. I miss that. I miss the ability to make fun of our politicians in that way, even when you voted for them. What happened to that? Look at the first term. FCC chair, oversees internet service providers and what they do. Who got appointed to that? Ajit Pai, one of the chief lobbyists for Verizon, somebody whose job it is to figure out how to make internet service providers more money. And what does he do when he gets that position? He tries to repeal net neutrality, something that would help Verizon make more money at the expense of the American consumer. And now this, when you look at these people that get appointed and the regulations they pass or the regulations that they get rid of, either one of two things is true. A, he has no idea what's going on in his own administration for over 4 years. B, he knows, and he lets it go and doesn't care. Politicians say what they need to say to be popular. They say what they need to say to get elected. And sometimes what they say is going to really resonate with the way you see the world. And that's fine. You can vote for them because of that. But don't ever stop holding their feet to the fire when they get something wrong in a way that fucks over you. Simply because they said something that reflects how you view the world or that you agree with doesn't mean that you have to go to bat defending every stupid fucking thing they do because that means that you're a bad person. That's not how this works. You're allowed to vote for somebody for a particular reason and then be pissed off when they do something else that you don't agree with. You're allowed to do that simply because you agree with Trump on immigration or something, which, by the way, this is really a total aside. There's this one video, it's like a 45-minute Senate clip of Jamie Langford giving a speech. Not a highly liberal person. This guy, like, he thinks being gay is a choice. I'm just going to say he's right of me by a he thinks being gay is a choice. Like, just he does an entire speech on this bipartisan immigration bill, and in the speech he's talking about what it would have solved, how it would have solved things, how there was agreement, and how it stalled when there was a thought that if the problem was solved, it would have had different results in the election. And he's talking about how political pundits were actually threatening and blackmailing him about ruining his career if he solved the immigration problem before the election. That fucked me up. Anyway, Senator Jamie Langford, listen to that thing. That was depressing. That was like, okay, but you voted for Trump because you didn't believe in COVID lockdowns, you didn't like vaccine mandates, you didn't want trans and women's sports, all this other stuff. You can vote the way that you wanted to vote, and then simultaneously say, why the fuck are you letting Comcast bribe my landlord? Why the fuck are you making it harder for me to cancel the gym membership? You don't have to go to bat on all these things. You don't have to say, I'm going to run defense for this politician. You're allowed to have your own identity. Because I think there's this dichotomy in people's head where they think, if I hold Trump's feet to the fire here because I voted for him, that means that next election, I guess I have to vote for AOC if I criticize him here. And I'm not saying that you have to do that on either side of the aisle. What I'm saying is that if all of you, if 78 or whatever million people voted for him, got on Truth Social or Twitter or Facebook or started calling his office, if 78 million of you said, I voted for you, why the fuck are you making it harder for me to sign up for FiOS or cancel my gym membership? Fuck you for that. I'm not voting for you in the midterm. If you subscribe to somebody and you like what they say and they get something wrong, you're allowed to leave a comment saying, I don't like that, while still listening to them. It doesn't mean you have to unsubscribe. If you buy an Apple product because you love that product, and I talk about a design defect it has that screws over people, and that design defect causes your motherboard to not work, you don't have to argue and say, well, I guess I was using it wrong because if I admit that there's a design defect, now I have to buy a Lenovo. That's not how that works. You can continue buying an Apple product while simultaneously criticizing Tim Cook. And if you want to vote for Trump, you do you. I'm not going to tell you how to vote on this channel. You can vote the way you want to vote, and it doesn't mean you have to vote for somebody else to admit that the person you voted for did something that cuts against your best interest. Because when you do that, when you run defense for them in this manner, when you say, if I know that if he just listened to me, in spite of 7 years of evidence to the contrary, that maybe he would stop appointing people that do this shit. If what you did was 78 million of you got on Truth Social or Twitter or Facebook or wherever the hell people congregate, and you called the White House, all 78 million of you, and said, excuse me, man, I voted for you. Why the hell are you making it harder for me to cancel my gym membership? Why is it I can't sign up for FiOS in my building because of Brendan fucking Carr? I'm not voting for your people in the midterms if you keep doing this shit. That stuff would change real quick. But they don't get those phone calls because instead of advocating for your best interest, you're arguing with the person that pointed out that somebody did something against your best interest. And now you're arguing amongst each other about your viewpoints and how you're bad and how you voted for this person because you're a moron, instead of actually contacting the person that you voted for and saying, I'm doing everything I can to make it more difficult for you to get elected if you don't change this shit. Do you think that ISPs would be able to bribe their landlords if 78 million people called the White House today and said, fire Brendan Carr or else? Do you think that you would not be able to cancel your gym membership if 78 million people called their senator in the White House right now and said, I'm never voting for your party again unless I can cancel my gym membership with a click? We have power, and we don't wield that power the way we should be wielding that power. We should be wielding that power to try to make the world a better place and hold people's feet to the fire when they fuck us over, and we don't. And the part that makes me the sickest about this is I've seen it happen with my own damn YouTube channel. I covered the Henry Cousby case 5.5 years ago, and there were some details that I got really badly wrong. This video has over 4 million views at this point. I changed the title of it. I did follow-up videos to this video when I got the court details, going over everything I got wrong and how Apple actually has a point. A company that I despise with every fiber of my being for how they've treated their customers over the years actually had a point. They had a reason to be mad at everybody else in the repair community. And I pointed out the reason that they had to be mad, and I said that Apple has a point here. You know what happened when I came out with all the evidence and the receipts of why I was wrong? I was getting people in my comments fighting with me saying, wait, what are you talking about? No, Louis, you were right the first time. What is wrong with you? Why are you saying this? I did such a good job of convincing people on the first go, and people really bought into it on the first go. They were rah, rah, rah. They agree with me. They agree with the way I saw the world. They agree with my presentation. They were arguing against the actual truth as I showed it to them. And that's when I realized this serious fucking responsibility that comes with being somebody that people I don't think I earned this, but I hate using these words, look up to. There's a responsibility that comes with that. because that can be easily taken advantage of. In my opinion, we live in a timeline where people don't have the ability or desire to separate their identities from the individuals that they vote for and the decisions that those people make. The CEOs that make the products that they buy, the podcasters and the YouTubers that they choose to listen to. They're one and the same. And if you like somebody and you agree with all the stuff they say and then they say or do something that's fucked up, instead of pointing out that they did something fucked up, we jump to immediately defending them and changing our own personal viewpoints and corrupting our own personal identities because we think that to point that out means that we did something wrong and choosing to listen to them. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. But the point is, I don't want you to think that the only alternative is I got to run over to the other side. If I point out that the people Joe Biden appointed to run NHTSA, the assistant legal counsel that was working there, was trying to sabotage right to repair, that doesn't mean that you have to vote for Donald Trump on the next election. What that means is you all pick up your phone and you say, what the fuck is this? Why is she ignoring a federal judge for 2 fucking years? If you don't fix this shit, I'm never voting for your party again. Click. And then 2 months later, they send out a letter saying, I'm sorry, we're undoing that. You have power, and I want to see you use that power, but I want to see you use that power for what's in your best interest rather than somebody else's best interest. You know why Brandon Carr is going to be able to allow internet service providers to bribe your landlord to give you shitty internet and force you to pay for it? You know why you're not going to be able to cancel your shit? Because you all fight amongst yourselves, and when somebody comes out and fucks you in the ass with a rusty spoon and makes it obvious that that's what they're doing every step of the way, you find a reason to defend them because you agreed with them on this, that, or the other. I'm not saying that you have to change who you vote for. I'm not saying you have to change the products you buy. I'm not saying you have to change the people that you listen to. All I'm asking is hold their feet to the fire. The same way you would hold somebody's feet to the fire if there was somebody who made a product you didn't buy, a podcast that you didn't listen to, or a politician you didn't vote for. You're allowed to vote for somebody and be disappointed in what they do. I feel the way about the people I vote for the way my mother feels about the children that she had. They disappoint me every single day. I understand that I have a limited number of choices and I vote based on the things that are important to me. And as a result of that, I get these things I like, I get these things that I don't like. And sometimes they just lie about the shit that they said they were going to do to begin with. It doesn't mean I'm stupid because I chose to buy a Lenovo at the same time that they put Superfish spyware on it because I like the track point and the liquid damage durability. It doesn't mean I'm stupid if I listen to a podcaster that says a lot of things that really resonate with me until they lose their mind and go high on some sort of drug and go into rehab. I don't know how to organize, but I'm learning that if I want to see any sort of change in the world, I'm going to have to become good at this myself. And I'm going to have to figure out a way to corral more and more people to advocate for what's in their best interest and come together in these regards and realize that you don't have to give up every single shred of your identity to call somebody out when they do something that fucks you. You're allowed to be disappointed in the people you buy products from, the people that you vote for, and the people you listen to. I hope at some point you're disappointed in me. I've been on this platform for 13 years. I'm sure I've said or done something that's pissed you off, and I hope when I do that, you don't go out of your way to defend me and bend over backwards for it. I'm asking you to hold the leader of the free world and CEOs worth tens of billions of dollars to the same standard that you hold a D-list YouTuber celebrity, Guido from New York City. I don't think it's a lot to ask. Please consider it for me. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.